Hello, second and third graders. There's a chance we haven't met yet, but I think I've met most of you. My name is Miss Lacroix, and I am Miss Rin's long-term substitute from now up until the end of the school year. And so I'm going to be taking over these bullying lessons for you, and also our next unit, which will happen after spring break, on careers. So today we have our last lesson on bullying, and it's about bullying prevention. And we're going to cover the last R of the 3 R's. So let's get started. Okay, so we've seen this poster in our last lessons, the 3 R's. Today we're going to learn about refuse. We've already learned how to recognize, being able to see bullying when it's happening and know that it's bullying and not maybe just something mean that's happening. The second R that we just learned about was report. So we learned about how to approach an adult and how to use our strong and respectful voice to tell an adult that bullying is happening. And today we're going to go over the last R, refuse. So this means we're going to refuse to be a part of the problem of bullying, and we're going to refuse to stand by and not help out our friends if we see it happening. So once again, we have learned that bullying is when someone keeps being mean, so it happens over and over again, to someone else on purpose. So it's not just an accident. They're doing it on purpose, and it's usually and it has to be unfair and one-sided. So somebody has to be doing it to somebody else, and they're not doing anything mean back. Hopefully we remember that. Today we're going to learn 2 new vocab words, bystander and upstander. Now, these are people usually in a bullying situation, and you can either be a bystander or an upstander. So a bystander is someone who sees bullying happening. They're watching it on the playground, or they're watching it in the hallway or in the cafeteria and just observing it. An upstander is someone who is watching it, but is going to stand up to the bullying when they see it. So we all want to be upstanders. And maybe while we watch this next video, you can think about, who is the upstander in this situation? Who is being bullied? And who are the bullies? And is anyone a bystander? So we want to think about that while we watch this next video. And we're going to have to identify who the upstander is and what they're doing that's being an upstander. So let's watch this video together. Hopefully.
My mom always tells me, Michon, you're such a picky eater, because I only eat peanut butter and jelly for lunch at school. But Mom doesn't know picky. She's never met Calvin, this kid at my lunch table. He's not only a picky eater, he's also really particular about where he puts the food on his lunch tray. He can't stand it if one piece of food touches another. If it does, look out. Calvin will go completely bonkers and start screaming. But that's not the worst of it for Calvin. Mikel and Elijah, these 2 guys in my grade, are always trying to bump into Calvin's lunch tray to get the food to slide together. They think it's so funny to see him freak out. Calvin tells them to stop, but they don't. They just laugh even more. I don't think it's funny at all. I think it's mean. Other kids in the cafeteria see what's happening, but no one does anything. Some of the other kids laugh at Calvin, too.
Who are the bystanders in this story?
I've talked to my mom about Calvin. She told me the way he acts might seem strange to the other kids because his brain works a little differently. Sometimes the way his brain works makes it harder for him to do things, like get along with other kids. But the way his brain works also makes him really good at other things, like math. In the cafeteria today, something bad happens. We all get our lunches and sit down to eat. I see Mikel and Elijah sitting nearby with their legs sticking out, waiting to trip Calvin when he walks by with his full lunch tray. I want to warn Calvin, but it's too late. Food is flying everywhere. Mikkel and Elijah laugh when Calvin falls. Then, before I know it, Calvin jumps up with his arms swinging. Miss Carla, the lunchroom supervisor, comes running over. All she saw was Calvin looking like he was trying to hit Mikkel and Elijah. Miss Carla didn't see what they did to Calvin. Calvin can't even say anything to explain. He just doesn't have the words. Miss Carla says Calvin has to go with her to the principal's office. I can see by the look on Calvin's face that he feels frustrated and angry. I feel frustrated and angry too.
What do you think Michonne could do to help get the bullying to stop?
I'm trying to figure out what to do to help Calvin, because I know it's not his fault. I saw Mikkel and Elijah trip him on purpose. They're the ones bullying Calvin. And because Calvin's not so good at explaining things, it seems like he's the one being blamed for it all. But I know the truth. If I were in Calvin's place, I'd want someone to stick up for me. Calvin doesn't really have any friends, so who's gonna do that? I think it'll have to be me. I need to tell Mr. Conrad, my principal, what I saw. Mr. Conrad, I say in a strong, respectful voice, I need to tell you that I saw what happened to Calvin at lunch today. I also tell him how Mikkel and Elijah bully Calvin all the time, not just today. Guess what? It turns out that Mr. Conrad is glad that I've reported the bullying. I'll talk with Mikkel and Elijah separately about this to make sure the bullying stops, he says. In the meantime, Michonne, how would you like to be one of Calvin's buddies? What do you mean? I ask. Well, as a buddy, you can help look out for Calvin so he feels accepted and safe when you're around. I'll also make sure there will be other buddies so you can take turns helping Calvin out. I tell Mr. Conrad that I like his idea. I feel proud that I stood up for Calvin and reported the bullying. I'm also proud that Mr. Conrad picked me to be one of Calvin's buddies.
Why will it help stop the bullying if Calvin has buddies?
You're probably wondering what happened to Mikkel and Elijah. Well, they don't bully Calvin anymore. They weren't even allowed back in the cafeteria for a week. They had to eat their lunches in the office. And then, just yesterday, Calvin showed me a note Mikkel and Elijah wrote him. It was an apology. And you know what else? It turns out that I've become friends with not just Calvin, but Calvin's other buddies too. It's great to have friends who look out for one another, and I owe it all to Calvin.